All right. Hello, welcome to our presentation, Making Friends and Influencing People Using the Slack Collaboration Tool to Improve Communication. Before we get started, allow me to introduce myself and my fellow presenters. Let me go that way. There we go. My colleagues and I work for George Mason University Libraries at the main campus in Fairfax, Virginia. My name is Denise Clausen-Lopez, and I am the Media and Online Services Specialist. Next is Kara Kiblinger. She is the Reference and Instruction Specialist. Also joining us is Izzy Hunsberger. She's the Reference and Instruction and Technology Specialist. Finally, Joy Jackson is the Online Learning Library Specialist. We will also be monitoring the chat box. If you have any questions during the presentation, myself or a fellow presenter will respond under the GMU Library username. Today, we'll discuss why instant messaging improves internal communications. Sorry about that. We'll discuss why instant messaging improves internal communications and best practices for implementation, how to use and customize Slack in order to facilitate communication between staff, provide real-time support to colleagues, and improve service to patrons. And finally, ways that Slack can help analyze patterns in communication and service. So to start us off, Joy will provide some of the benefits of using instant messaging as a communication tool.
All right, thank you, Denise. So why should you implement instant messaging at your library? So research shows that there are three main benefits to using instant messaging versus other forms of communication. First, excuse me, I need to forward the slide. So first, IM allows colleagues to create, maintain, and develop relationships both locally and at a distance. For instance, our campuses have two libraries. There's Fenwick and then there's Gateway. We needed a more effective way to increase daily communication with our colleagues at the Fenwick Library. And additionally, our service desk is on a separate floor from our staff offices. And since the implementation of Slack, we've communicated more often and more effectively with our colleagues across the campus and within our own department. Secondly, IM tends to be less intrusive than other forms of communication. This is very true when it comes to Slack. So although most of us have the app open on our desktops during the day, we don't all engage with it in the same way. So some of us are avid users, others more moderate, and some of us rarely use it at all. However, the ability to engage with the app individually on our own terms encourages use and limits disruptions in productivity. Lastly, instant messaging promotes social networks among employees, which improves productivity and collaboration. As we've used it over the years, not only has our ability to serve patrons improved in terms of accuracy and speed, but it made collaboration much easier. Staff not only use it to ask questions, but we also solicit collaboration on things like book chapters, instruction, and other projects. Okay, so in addition to the benefits of instant messaging, you should be aware of some of the best practices when it comes to implementation. For instance, management styles and support had a great impact on successful implementation and use. And this is where buy-in is so important. If managers do not wholeheartedly agree that IM is a useful communication tool, no one else will use it. And if employees also fear that it's being used just to monitor them and their work and their communication, that'll also impede adoption. Additionally, use guidelines, So in addition, IM is also best suited for a more informal conversation. If you have a more structured, formal organization, this may not be your best option. So we tend to, our department head uses the Slack application often and liberally, and so that encourages us to use it as well. And we have a more informal dialogue with her and our other supervisors. Additionally, use guidelines must be in place to take advantage of the technology. So as an example, we decided that we would have a different channel or chat room to meet different needs. So for instance, we have a desk channel dedicated to answering questions related to our service desk, and we also have an instruction channel to brainstorm new teaching ideas. We did that to eliminate a lot of the channel noise. We needed to make sure that help requests from the desk would not be missed because of unrelated conversations. Some of the use guidelines you'll establish before implementation, others you'll develop as you go. So now I'll hand it over to Izzy. She'll describe what life was like before we implemented Slack.
So in order to understand why Slack works so well for our team in libraries, you have to get a picture of what communication was like prior to adopting Slack. Before Slack, we relied on things such as Post-it notes, emails, phone calls, and in-person exchanges to relay important information and communicate between each other. Each one has its merits, but there are many barriers and limitations for each within our environment. For example, as Joy said earlier, our service desk is completely isolated from the staff area upstairs. If a policy clarification or any type of help was needed, phone was the quickest way to locate the correct information or person needing assistance. During busy times, this can be very slow and ineffective, especially considering you can only call one person at a time and someone may have stepped away from their desk. Additionally, Mason subject librarians support 4 libraries on 3 campuses. It can be difficult to communicate things such as appointment arrivals with librarians who are working in alternate locations without their office phone. Organizationally, we have 4 library departments working 2 combined service desks on our Fairfax campus. And in the service desk environment, there are often updates and reminders that need to be communicated regularly. As policies change and teams evolve, there are often information gaps between departments working the service desk. And it all seems like we all get a million emails a day, so sometimes information and updates can slip through the cracks and emails can go unread. Also, because we are open nights and weekends, staff members working outside of normal business hours were often outside of the loop regarding issues that took place earlier that day. Other than a sticky note, there was often no quick or easy way to relay important service desk information to staff and students working the desk later in the day and ensure that they actually saw it. This often resulted in a desktop covered with sticky notes, which I'm sure everyone's very familiar with, and vice versa. Nighttime and weekend staff had no real way of documenting and relaying desk information other than email. So as you can see, we really needed an alternative or additional method to communicating to all staff and librarians working our desks. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kara to show us how Slack helped us overcome these communication barriers.
So after adopting Slack in 2014, we've seen many improvements. As communication has increased, we are seeing fewer isolated departments and positions. Slack also allows for the quick dissemination of info to a large group of people, resulting in fewer reply-all email chains and phone calls. With the ability to have various chat rooms on various topics, the transparency is improved as employees are aware of projects others are working on. Communication and collaboration is easier, especially mobile and off regular working hours. It allows employees at the desk to ask questions and clarify policy, resulting in the whole department applying policies very consistently. Customer service is improved with faster transactions and referrals to coworkers not on the desk. Slack is also used to change scheduling and meeting locations on the fly and to provide assistance to student workers. And to show you how to use Slack, here is Izzy again.
So I'm just going to give you a brief demo of the Slack environment. I'm not going to go over anything like creating a team or downloading, because a lot of that documentation is readily available online, and we'll point to it in our references at the end of our presentation. So when you first log into Slack, it'll ask you, before you log in with your own credentials, it'll ask you for a team domain. And now what that team domain is, here you can see the team domain for us is gatewaylibrary.slack.com. What that is a persistent web URL that you can reach Slack at any computer whatsoever. Slack isn't only a desktop application, it's also an in-browser application, and you can also take it on the go with you if you have a smartphone. So if you ever needed to access Slack and you weren't at your computer, you can easily access it via this web address. So in Slack, the bulk of your messaging will occur through channels. As Joy said before, in Slack, channels are pretty much just topical chat rooms. So for example, we can see in the details here that the one button chat, the purpose of this chat is to archive problems concerning and related to our One Button Studio, which is a studio we have here at Gateway Library. We also have a desk channel set up where we can easily chat with each other. And as you can see here, we have communications regarding a printer jam that people later in the day can refer back to. And easily, if we wanted to, we could pin this item where it can be easily found. So you can see we have a reminder here from yesterday about checking, a reminder about how to check out items. So other than communicating within channels in Slack, you can also communicate within private IM messages. For example, if I wanted to let Kara know that her appointment was here, I could easily type in and chat with her. But beyond messaging, Slack also allows you to share files and share links, which is very beneficial, especially working at the service desk. So for example, if I wanted to share a file with Kara, I have very different methods of doing that. For example, I could click this plus sign here. There is Google Apps integration automatically built in, but then I can also just find any sort of file on my computer, or I can simply drag and drop from my desktop, which I will show you. So if you have a document here on your desktop, I can easily drag and drop it to show it here. And it gives me the option of adding a comment, who I want to share it with. I can share it with a channel. I can share it with just her. I'm going to share it with her now. The file's private. And we upload it to Slack. Each team, each free team is allotted 5 gigs of cloud space within Slack. So this is where this particular document is hosted. Now I can either just keep it here. I can also easily, if I wanted to, grab a persistent link to, email it to someone else. I can save it to my Dropbox. I can pin it where it's that easily accessible here, like a little hot link. And as you can see, Kara responded here, and there are different ways I can respond to her. I can respond to her via text. I can also add a little reaction emoji, just something that's a little bit flavorful. Here at Gateway, we're very into, of course, our emojis. They make Slack really fun for us, and that's how we customize it and make it our own. So I can just react with a cute little Carlton emoji that we uploaded ourselves, or I could, if I wanted to, just thumbs up, we're good to go. So as you're messaging and you're working at your work desk, you may find that Slack you can become inundated with messages. Luckily for us, Slack gives you loads of options to customize Slack at your own personal workspace or at shared workspace at the desk. For example, if we click here and we look at preferences, I want to point out the notification settings. As Joy said before, everyone engages in Slack very differently. For example, when I'm sitting at my own personal desk and I also have Slack on my phone, I don't want to get every single message that's coming in on every single channel that I'm subscribed to. So I have my Slack only set up to accept direct messages in highlight words. That's what it will notify me of. What are highlight words, you ask? Down here, I've selected some highlight words that are very specific to me. So for example, help. We have a standard convention that in our help channel, or in our desk channel, if anyone needs any sort of backup help or assistance, all they have to do is type in the words help or backup. And now what those highlight words will do, anytime any sort of communication pops up with the word help, I will get an alert. I also have OBS, which is our One Button Studio, because that's relevant to me. Also variations of my name, just in case someone needs to reach me. Additionally, because I have Slack on my phone and I'm reachable wherever I am, even if I'm not at my computer, I have do not disturb settings set. So when I go home late at night, when I come home, when I come back to work, Slack's not bothering me in between then. Or if I wanted to, and I wanted to be accessible, I could set it on. And as we said before, we do have staff who do serve our service desk, at midnight. So sometimes having extra backup and support, like even if you're, on Netflix at home and you can there's a quick question, you can just pop in and say, here's the answer. Of course, it's not our duty, but it's just something that's fun we do to support each other and build rapport. So one last feature that I want to point out is the search function within Slack. Because Slack is persistent and it pretty much saves up to 10,000 of your team's messages with a free account, you can search all of the messages within all of the public channels. So for example, if I was interested in finding out what people were saying about the one button, or there was some sort of issue with the one button yesterday and I need to quickly find that, I can just put in one button, or I can put in OBS, which people normally type it out. And I can pull up every single instance we have of the one button. So if I wanted to look at any sort of troubleshooting issues or anything, what files are related, they're right here, easily accessible to me and to my team. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kara, and she's going to show us a little bit about data mining and archiving within Slack.
So in addition to the improvements we've seen using Slack, we've been able to use it in other ways as well. Looking through old transcripts, we've been able to see when and how often the desk calls for backup assistance and to staff our desk accordingly. The persistent chat room feature allows our department to track short-term issues, such as the printer is down, I have reported it, and long-term issues, such as Printergy always jams in the same place. Other than data mining, the interface does allow for lots of customization. You can change loading messages, add your own emojis, or assign emojis to someone's name. This is what we do with our generic desk account, so we know who is responding. You can install various add-ins, like Giphy, which generates random GIFs depending on the words you type. There are tons of other add-ins that are neat, but not heavily used by us. You can actually use Uber and Lyft and summon a ride within Slack, amongst other things. All of the add-ins are free and allow you to customize your experience and range from the productive to the just silly. And new add-ins are being added constantly. Now Denise is going to conclude the presentation and open the floor to questions.
Okay, so far, are there any questions about the app?
Specifically, anything you want to see us demonstrate before we move on? No, it doesn't work. Nope. Oh, wait. Do you have any pushback from staff about using it?
Okay, so I think it depends on the environment where you work. Some staff members prefer to communicate face-to-face or over email and would rather do that than use a chat service. So there has been some pushback, but eventually we've come to a place where everybody uses it in a way that benefits them. The only time that it's kind of compulsory is when we're down at the service desk. Everybody needs to be accessible while at the service desk in case something comes up. We can just, as mentioned before, we type in help or backup, and then everybody knows, okay, somebody's got to go down there. Any other questions? Excuse me. Nope. All right, in closing, we highly recommend instant messaging and Slack in particular. It's a great free tool that has significantly improved how we communicate at our organization. In fact, it has been so successful that very soon all campus libraries will be encouraged to communicate over Slack. Thank you so much for attending this session. If you would like to talk more about Slack and how we use it, please email us at gateway@gmu.edu.